Listen carefully. If you ever find yourself alone on the last train of the night, and another passenger gets on even though the station is completely closed, don't make eye contact. Don't speak to them. And whatever you do, don't answer if they already know your name. Because some passengers aren't trying to get somewhere. Some passengers are looking for someone to take their place. My name is Daniel Harper, and this happened 3 years ago in Chicago. At the time, I was working security for a warehouse near the south side of the city. Nothing exciting. Long hours. Low pay. Mostly sitting around watching cameras and drinking terrible coffee. My shift ended at midnight. Every night, I'd catch the last train home. Same route, same schedule, same people. Or at least, that was usually the case. The night everything happened started normally. Cold December evening. Light snow falling outside. The city looked almost empty. Most people were already home. I remember checking my phone. 12:18 a.m. I was cutting it close. If I missed that train, I'd be stuck paying for an expensive rideshare I couldn't afford. So I ran. Made it through the station doors seconds before they locked. The platform was nearly empty. Just one sleeping homeless man near a vending machine and a woman waiting at the far end. The train arrived right on time. Its brakes screamed against the tracks. The doors opened. I stepped inside. The woman stayed behind. The homeless man never moved. And then the doors closed. At first, everything felt normal. Only 3 passengers were inside. A college student wearing headphones. An older man reading a newspaper. And me. I sat near the middle of the train, put my earbuds in, and tried to relax. The ride home usually took about 40 minutes. Easy, simple, routine. But about 10 minutes later, something strange happened. The train stopped at a station that wasn't on the schedule. The lights flickered once, then twice. The train slowed down, and eventually came to a complete stop. I looked outside. The station looked abandoned. Dark platform. Broken lights. No advertisements. No people. Nothing. I frowned. I had taken this route for almost a year. I'd never seen this station before. Then the doors opened. Nobody got off. Nobody got on. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then I heard footsteps. Slow footsteps. Coming from somewhere outside. Step, step, step. Pay attention. Because this was the moment I should have moved to another train car or gotten off completely. Instead, I stayed exactly where I was. The footsteps got closer. And finally, someone appeared on the platform. A man. Tall. Very tall. At least 6'5", maybe taller. Dark coat. Dark hat. His face hidden by shadows. He walked slowly toward the train, then stopped directly outside my window and looked straight at me. I felt a strange chill immediately. Not fear. Not yet. Just discomfort. The kind you feel when something isn't quite right. The man didn't blink. Didn't move. Didn't look away. Just stared. Then the train doors closed, and we started moving again. I let out a small breath, relieved, but then I heard someone sit down behind me. I turned around. The tall man was sitting 3 rows back. My stomach dropped. I never saw him enter. Never heard him walk inside. And nobody else seemed to notice. The student kept listening to music. The old man kept reading, as if nothing had happened. I stared for several seconds, trying to understand how he'd gotten there. Then the man smiled. A small smile, barely noticeable, but enough to make every instinct inside me start screaming. I quickly looked away, told myself I was overreacting. Maybe I'd simply missed him boarding. Maybe he entered through another door. Maybe Daniel. I froze. My name. He had just said my name. Slowly, I turned around. The man was still sitting there, still smiling, still staring. You missed your stop last Tuesday. The words hit me like ice water, because he was right. I had missed my stop last Tuesday. The train had been crowded. I fell asleep, ended up 2 stations past home. But how did he know that? I stood up immediately, heart pounding, and moved toward another section of the train. The farther away, the better. As I walked, I noticed something strange. The old man with the newspaper was gone. The student was gone too. The train car was now completely empty, except for me and him. I stopped walking. confused. Had they left? When? At what station? I hadn't seen anyone move. The lights flickered again. This time longer. Almost 3 full seconds. Darkness. Then light. Darkness. Then light. And when the lights returned, the tall man was closer. 3 rows away now. I know he hadn't walked. I would have heard him, seen him, something. But there he was, closer than before. My breathing started getting faster. I pulled out my phone. No signal. No internet. Nothing. Which made no sense. We were still inside the city. The train speaker suddenly crackled. Static filled the car. Then a voice spoke. Final passenger confirmed. The message repeated twice. Then silence. What happened next still doesn't make sense to me, because when I looked out the window, Chicago was gone. No buildings, no streets, no city lights, only darkness and snow, endless snow, stretching forever outside the train. My chest tightened. This wasn't possible. We weren't anywhere near open country. The tracks ran through the city. I stood and moved toward the emergency intercom. Pressed a button. Nothing. Pressed again. Still nothing. Then I heard footsteps behind me. Slow. Heavy. Approaching. Step. 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 I didn't need to turn around. I already knew who it was. The voice came again. Calm. Almost friendly. Daniel. I squeezed my eyes shut, trying to stay calm, trying to think logically. Then he said something that made my blood run cold. You weren't supposed to be on this train. I turned slowly. The man was standing in the aisle now, only a few feet away. For the first time, I could see his face clearly. And what I saw made my stomach drop, because it wasn't a stranger's face. It was mine. The same eyes, the same nose, the same scar above my eyebrow, only older, much older, and smiling. Then the train lights shut off completely, and somewhere ahead, a door slowly opened. Listen carefully. If a stranger ever shows you your own face, don't stay to hear what they have to say, because sometimes the most dangerous person you'll ever meet is the version of yourself that never came home. The train lights had gone completely dark. The only illumination came from outside, a pale white glow reflecting off endless snow. My heart hammered against my ribs, and standing only a few feet away was me, or something that looked exactly like me, only older by decades, wrinkled skin, gray hair, sunken eyes, and that smile, that horrible smile. Then he spoke. You finally made it. I backed away immediately. What are you? The thing laughed softly, not normal laughter, more like someone remembering an old joke. I asked the same question when I first saw him. Cold spread through my chest. What does that mean? The thing glanced toward the front of the train, then back at me. It means you're late. The train suddenly lurched forward. Hard. I nearly lost my balance. Outside, the snowstorm became worse. Thicker, darker, almost impossible to see through. Then I noticed something strange. Shapes, standing in the snow. Hundreds of them. Human figures. Motionless, watching the train pass. My stomach twisted. They weren't moving. Not a single one. Just standing there, watching. Pay attention, because this was the moment I realized this wasn't a train anymore. This was something else entirely. The older version of me sat down calmly, like he'd done this before, many times. You want answers? I didn't respond. You won't like them. The train speaker crackled again. Static filled the car. Then another voice, different this time, much deeper. Arrival in 8 minutes. The older version of me looked nervous, for the first time. Actually nervous, and that terrified me more than anything. What happens in 8 minutes? I asked. He looked directly at me. He wakes up. Every hair on my body stood up. Who? The older version of me didn't answer immediately. Instead, he slowly looked toward the front door of the train, the door that had opened earlier, the door leading to the next car. And that's when I heard it. Breathing, deep breathing, coming from somewhere ahead, slow, heavy, almost animal-like. Something was inside the next car. Something big. The breathing continued. Then came a scraping sound, like claws dragging across metal. The older version of me stood up instantly. We don't have much time. He ignored the question. Instead, he pointed toward the window. I looked outside and nearly collapsed. The snow-covered figures were gone. Now they were running. Hundreds of them, running alongside the train, keeping pace. Their faces hidden, their movements wrong. Too fast, too jerky. Some were missing arms. Others looked twisted, broken, and every single one of them was staring directly at my window. The train speaker crackled again. Final replacement process beginning. My blood went cold. Replacement. I turned toward the older version of myself. What replacement? For the first time, his smile disappeared, and he whispered, "The train only carries one passenger." Silence. I stared at him, trying to understand, trying to process. Then realization hit. No. His eyes filled with sadness. Yes. Suddenly everything made sense. The empty train, the missing passengers, the abandoned station. There never were other passengers. There was only ever one. Me. The older version nodded slowly. I got on this train 37 years ago. My chest tightened. I thought I could leave too. The train shook violently. A roar echoed from somewhere ahead. Not human, not animal. Something much worse. The breathing in the next car became louder, closer. Then the metal door at the front began bending inward. Something on the other side was pushing against it. The older version grabbed my shoulder. Listen carefully. His voice trembled. When the door opens, a massive dent slammed into the metal. Boom. The entire train shook. When the door opens, another impact. Even harder. Boom. You run. What about you? He smiled sadly. I already missed my stop. The door exploded inward. Metal flew across the train car. Glass shattered. Lights flickered. And something stepped through. At first, my brain refused to understand what I was seeing. Too tall. Far too tall. Its head nearly touched the ceiling. Long arms. Black skin stretched tightly across a skeletal frame. No eyes. No nose. Just a huge smiling mouth filled with human teeth. Hundreds of them. The creature tilted its head, then spoke, using my voice. Daniel. I ran. The older version shoved me toward the rear exit. Go! The creature lunged. Its arm shot forward impossibly fast, grabbing him around the chest. I heard bones crack, but before it could pull him away, he looked at me one final time and smiled. Then he slammed his hand against an emergency release lever. Everything exploded into white light. The train vanished. The snow vanished. The creature vanished. And suddenly, I was lying face down on a freezing train platform. Chicago. Real Chicago. Police lights flashed nearby. Paramedics surrounded me. People were shouting. I blinked repeatedly. Confused. Disoriented. A police officer knelt beside me. Sir, can you hear me? I nodded weakly. The officer looked relieved. You're lucky. What happened? I whispered. The officer frowned. You don't remember? I shook my head. The officer glanced toward the tracks. The last train derailed 3 miles north. My blood froze. When the officer stared. About 40 minutes ago. 40 minutes. Exactly the length of my ride. I looked toward the wreckage in the distance. Smoke rose into the night sky. Emergency crews worked under floodlights. Then I noticed something. A photograph sitting beside one of the officers. An evidence photo. A victim identification picture. I couldn't breathe because the man in the photo looked exactly like me. Only older. Much older. The officer quickly covered it. But it was too late. I had already seen it. 3 months later, I tried convincing myself the entire thing was a head injury. Trauma. Hallucinations. Anything. Then one night, while riding home after work, the train stopped unexpectedly. The lights flickered once, then twice, and over the speaker, a familiar voice whispered. Next stop, a long pause followed. Then, Daniel.